to Wisdom of Women, the podcast to bring you insights of successful women leaders. I'm your host, Sherry Hilton, and whether you're a working professional looking to level up, an aspiring entrepreneur, or simply curious about the stories of women who are making a difference, this podcast is for you. Our guests come from diverse backgrounds and industries, but they all share one thing in common. They've overcome challenges and achieved success through hard work, determination, and a willingness to take risks. They will tell their personal journeys, the lessons they've learned along the way, and the wisdom they've gained. Join me each week as we dive into the experiences and perspectives of extraordinary women and discover the inspiration and motivation you need to achieve your own goals. So without further ado, let's get started.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Wisdom of Women. Today, my guest is Cermak, and she is no stranger to designing the life that you want to live. And I pulled a quote by Jim Rohn. We all have two choices. We can make a living or we can design a life. And I think designing a life is what Dawn has done and is doing, and has some great lessons to teach all of us how we can design our own lives as well. Hi, Dawn. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you? Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here today.
Thank you for being here. So we chatted a little bit before the podcast, and we talked about the timeline of life and how women hit this point in their life. And usually we can see that break, and we wake up one day and we think, what else can we do? And I'm not living my life for me. I'm living it for work or my kids or my husband or taking care of a home and doing all the errands. And you don't want to look back and regret. So it's important that we all take the step to design our life. And that is really what you've been doing. So tell us a little bit about when that happened for you and what came out of it.
Yeah, I say all the time, most women, somewhere between the ages of 45 and 60, hit this crossroads. They hit this point where they look around, maybe they're recent empty nesters. Maybe they just got a divorce. Maybe they had their own health crisis, right? Maybe they just lost a parent who they'd been taking care of. Maybe they worked for a company for 25 years and the owner decided to retire. And I mean, it's a point where you hit this point and you look around and you go, wait, what? I just lived my entire life for other people. What about me? What about my life? And when you hit this point, it's because you have the space, right? The kids are gone, the husband's gone, the aging parent's gone, the boss is gone. All of a sudden you have the space where you never had it before because you were so immersed in the busyness of life, you didn't even realize what might have been missing, right?
Yeah.
The importance of finding your own joy, of finding your own path. So I hit that point almost 10 years ago. I got divorced. I left a 25-year career in special events. I had actually built the company from scratch, from my kitchen. Divorced, left my career. My three older kids were off to college. The youngest of those oldest three had just left for college. And I was like, it's time for me to figure out what I want my life to look like, because it doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it does. Things do just happen, but they're not the things you want necessarily, because, the best way to predict the future is to create it. 100%. So I was on a retreat. I did a 24-hour solo, and one of the exercises, what I got loud and clear, this was I was starting to be at that crossroads. I wasn't quite that I wasn't quite there, but at this retreat, I got that part of my mission was to connect women globally.
I love it.
So I got that piece on a mountaintop in a tent all by myself. on the side of a mountain. And then right after that, it was right after that, I came home and I thought, you know what? I it's time for me to live my life. I'm going to go connect women globally, whatever that means, or it's time for me to go live my life. And so I was looking at buying a business that was in Barcelona. So I went over to Barcelona to check it out. And my idea was that I'll be here for 6 months, I'll buy this business, and then I'll operate it remotely from my house. Because I knew, even back then, I knew that part of my dream for my future is that I wanted to be in a situation where I was living part-time in Europe and part-time at home, and I had a business that supported me on both sides of the Atlantic. Right? That's always been part of my vision. So I went to look at this business and I thought, okay, if I'm going to be here for 6 months, I'll put Maisie in a school, my 8-year-old that was still with me. I'll put her in an international school and, I'll do this thing and then bring the business home. Well, after looking at the business, I decided it was not a good investment for a lot of reasons. But I was hooked on this idea of coming and living in Barcelona with my daughter. I don't know a soul in Barcelona. I didn't know anyone. I had never been there. I didn't know anyone. So I was looking for a school for her. I got on, and I found one that was just south, a little bit south. Jumped on the train, went to check out the school, walked out of the train station into the plaza of the town. And I thought, oh my God, this is where we're going to live. This is the place. This is our spot. Like I could feel it. I could like my body was tingling. So we did indeed go and live there, a little town called Sitges, south of Barcelona. And school was a mile away. She would rollerblade to school. We would rollerblade home. We didn't have a car. Can you imagine not having a car? We walked everywhere.
Wow. Well, their lifestyle's very different. So yeah.
We walked everywhere. We were joined at the hip and we figured it all out together. Like which ATM gave the best conversion rate? What was the best pizza in town? Where was the best ice cream in town? How do you get to Barcelona? Which zone are we in? How do we figured it all out together. It was a magical time. But I had a lot of time to myself while she was in school. So I took that time to really, really figure out what I wanted my life to look like. And when I was thinking about going to Barcelona, I was actually looking for immersive experiences and looking for what I wanted to, the kind of thing that I wanted to create for myself. And there was nothing. So part of my mission is actually to create that for other women, a way that you can have that curated journey of self-discovery. Because when you reach this crossroads, again, if you don't proactively seek out either tools or a coach or some kind of program to help you get rid of all that baggage that you've been carrying around, all the emotional baggage, the mom guilt, whatever, a process, a program to get rid of that stuff and then really step into figuring out what your purpose is, what your legacy is. My legacy is really important to me. What mark do I want to leave on the world? Who do I want to be? What do I want to be known for?
Yeah.
And in that time, I realized that what I wanted to be known for was being a beacon of light for women.
Yeah.
So that women know and have the tools, the belief, and the financial means to design a life that truly delights them, a life where they can thrive, not survive.
Yeah. And you've been there and you've walked the path already and you've gotten clear and you've used the tools to build the life you want. What are 3 or 4 of the tools that you speak of? Like the 3 or 4 tools that women really need to look at or utilize to start quieting themselves to listen and clear out the baggage, as you said, to start building those building blocks towards that created life that they've always wanted to have.
Well, I think that again, so I have done in my life a lot of personal growth and development work.
Yeah.
So the mountainside I'm referring to was um, on a big ranch out in California where I would go and do really deep work. Right. I went and I would do their programs. I also would staff so I could facilitate and help other women going through the process. So you need to be in some kind of facilitated. I mean, you don't need to. Some people figure it out on their own, but at the end of the day, if you want it to happen in a reasonable time frame and you want to make sure you actually do figure out you're on the right path, get some help.
Yeah.
Get support, get a coach, find a group, whatever it is. This group happened to be PSI, PSI seminars, and you gotta commit to spending the time with yourself. You've got to quiet your mind. You've got to either this was 24 hours solo in a tent, no device, no phone, no me and my journal and a sleeping bag and a pillow. That was it.
Wow. Talk about being quiet and alone with yourself to think about all those thoughts that spin constantly and you've got nowhere to run from them, that you've got to listen and write and understand where those thoughts are taking you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I say, so I'm getting ready to host a retreat, right?
Yeah.
It's called the Path and Purpose Retreat. It's in Barcelona. Look, it's all coming
Ooh.
together, right? It's all coming
Full
together.
circle. Full
Path
circle.
and Purpose in Barcelona at October 17th to the 23rd. And this is exactly what we are focusing on. I mean, this topic could not have been more timely, Sherry. And it just came when we were talking about it, like before we even started, because again, the best way to predict the future is to create it, because as soon as you have clarity of vision and a commitment to that vision, i.e. your future life, even if you can't start right away, right? Because I still had an 8-year-old and my plan was to go live out in the world. And so that didn't really mesh. As long as you start taking steps, because you don't have what you need is the clarity of vision. So what you want your life to look like. You don't need to know how. We call them the cursed hows, right? You don't need to know step by step how you're going to get there. Just get clear on where you're going and start moving in that direction. Just one step in the direction of your dreams. And the universe or source or whatever you choose to call your higher power, this is my belief, will match you step for step. So you take a step and all of a sudden a door will open and you go,
Doors
oh,
open.
I never even thought of that. Or you'll meet somebody who you might have met anyway, but because now you have a different filter on your vision for the future, you realize they fit in with your plan for the future. They can help you get there. They're who you, whatever.
Yeah.
The universe has put them in your path.
The right people and the opportunities start to present themselves. It's kind of like when you're out looking for cars, right? And you're interested in this particular type of car and you never used to see it before, but now that you're interested in it, you're paying attention to it. Now you see them all over the place. And I believe it's the same exact thing, because when you have that clear vision and focus of what you want your life to look like, all of a sudden you start spotting the things that line up perfectly because you know where you're headed.
Yeah, because your brain can only process so much information. So it puts filters on whether you realize it or not. So you want to help create the filters that your mind is putting on so the right information gets through to you.
Yeah. So at your retreat, do you do some of that mind work and clearing and helping people get that quietness and clarity of where they want to go?
We start every day either with yoga on the beach or a meditation or we've got some people coming in that are going to be doing some guided meditations and some different breathing processes. So every day we'll start there. Then we'll have 2 hours where we dive into a tool, a process. We go into a process, and then there's homework for the day. Well, Sherry, don't get too upset about the homework, because you're doing your homework on the train riding to Barcelona while we're going to see Sagrada Familia and Parkway, or a flamenco show, or Las Ramblas, or the Barigoti, which is a little neighborhood where there's a lot of really cool little shops, or the Parque de la Ciudadela, which is a real place with beautiful fountains. So we're going to be exploring Barcelona. We're going to be seeing all the things that make it such an amazing city. But we're going to be together as a group, and we're going to be processing. We're going to get the work done while we're having lots of fun, drinking wine and having tapas and meeting other women. So I have a pretty big network in Barcelona. So we're going to have guest speakers come in. We're going to have people joining us for our meals, other women. Some of them are entrepreneurs, some of them aren't. One of them's an architect. One of them's a Reiki master. They're going to come in and meet with, so that you get a chance, because here's the thing I didn't say earlier. Anyone can travel, right? You can book 2 weeks to pick a Greece.
Yeah.
Right? And you can book your travel, and you can find a place to live, no problem. You might even take some Greek classes while you're there. But the richness for me of the experience is connecting with local people.
Oh, yes.
And creating relationships. And that's what my coffee shop project, we'll talk about that another day. It's kind of along the same lines. That's what my coffee shop project is designed to do. And that's what this retreat is designed to do. Get you away from all the busyness of your life, have that curated journey of self-discovery, get rid of the emotional baggage, and start to have that clarity of vision. A lot of it starts with your personal values. So we have a session that we go through that we work on personal values, and a lot of women couldn't even tell you what their values are, right? But once you get clear on those values, and it's a process, then we make sure that you're thinking about those values as you develop whatever your plan is. So for example, let's say you had gone and started a business, Sherry, and it was, I don't even know what it was. You went and started a business. But if your business that you started, because I work with a lot of female entrepreneurs, isn't, and you think that's what you're going to do in the future, and that's your big thing here, if it's not in alignment with your own personal values, you're not going to be successful, because you're not in alignment.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Because it's not authentic to you.
And it's not authentic. And so let's say you're out on social media, because everybody's telling you have to be on social media, and you're doing all the things that people are telling you to do to promote your business, but it doesn't line up with your own values. You're not going to be authentic. It's not going to be genuine. You're not going to be successful. So getting clear on your personal values, my top 3 are freedom, connection, and contribution. Those are my 3 top values.
I love those. And contribution leads to that legacy.
Well, contribution can be about supporting women in living their dreams. For me, if I'm able to help one woman get to that point where she gets clear on her vision, then goes and starts living her dream, that for me, that's contribution. Impact, I guess, would be
impact.
But I don't think impact is a value. Contribution would be about, I don't know.
Yeah. But it's making a contribution to their life so that they understand it's possible to design the life that they truly look forward to waking up to and doing every day, versus the mundaneness of work and kids and You go to bed and you wake up and it's on repeat. It's about designing the life
And
that
that's
brings
not,
you joy.
and it's not to say that you weren't happy working and bringing up your kids. I was really happy. I became an entrepreneur at the age of like 28. I've been an entrepreneur for 34 years.
Wow.
Well, that's not quite right. At the age of 26. I don't know, whatever. Math's not important. Over 30 years. We'll stick with over 30 years. And I was really happy. I was super busy. I was working like 90 hours a week. I had 3 little kids. I was running around doing all the mom stuff, the volunteer at the school stuff, and all the work stuff, and the boss stuff, and the CEO stuff. And I actually was pretty happy. I was very fulfilled. I was excited. I was building something amazing. I was learning new things. I was a good boss. I took care of my people. My kids were thriving. It was not an unhappy, it was a busy time and I didn't get a lot of sleep, but it wasn't unhappy. But it wasn't, I don't know. It was a season, it was a good season, but it wasn't about me necessarily.
Yeah. And so you woke up and you went and did the retreat in the tent on the mountain
Mm-hmm.
and had that download of this is what I want. And you went to Barcelona with your daughter and it developed even more. And then take us from there. How did we get to doing retreats? And I think you have a business, a Hey Taxi business. So is that somewhere in the middle?
Well, so I came home and I decided that first of all, my dreams were going to require funding. A lot of dreams require funding, right?
Yeah.
You got to figure out the money piece. And so when I first came home, I said, you know what? I have this network marketing business. I'm gonna take it to the next level. And I did.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I got really committed. I made a lot of money. It was really good. And then I was doing that, but I looked around and I thought, oh my God, there's all these women in direct sales, network marketing, or female entrepreneurs in general who don't even really understand that they have a business and that they could be keeping a lot more of the money that their W-2 partner and their partner spouse, like anybody who's got a W-2, they could be keeping a lot more of that W-2 money by using their business to maximize the tax benefits, right?
Yeah.
So I started focusing on that, and I was helping a lot of women bring home an extra, I don't know, $6, $9, $12, $19,000 in a year,
Wow.
just understanding those benefits. So I started supporting women who were in that space, female entrepreneurs. I started growing that business. And but in the back of my mind, I'm still like, I still want to help women with this other piece, this bigger piece, this, define your legacy, figure out, write that next, what does the next chapter of your life look like? Let's write it together. Let's go through a process, again, getting rid of the baggage, really figuring out and getting that clarity to start moving towards it. And let's put a plan together. Like that was and do it internationally. So I was actually at another retreat. I'm very committed to personal growth. And it doesn't happen, again, immersed in the busyness of your life. You've got to take the time out for you and take the time to really dive into some of these things. I was at the retreat and I thought, I'm tired of putting my dreams on hold. I know I committed to being a great high school mom, but I don't want to wait anymore. I'm going to do an international retreat in the fall. This was in February. Out of nowhere.
A year ago.
Year and a half ago. Yeah.
Year and a half ago. Okay.
Yeah. So I was at a retreat and I stood up and I declared, I said, I'm not putting my dreams on hold anymore. I'm doing an international retreat in the fall.
Good for you.
And I did. I went and scoped it out, went and rented a beautiful villa in Puerto Vallarta, created the whole workbook and whole itinerary. And there were 11 of us there. Wow. And it was amazing. And so, and it was focused on female entrepreneurs. It was focused on business and how to write a business plan and like a lot of the stuff we teach at Hey Taxi. But I feel like that's important. And I do love teaching and training that. That's what I do. But I still had this bigger mission of supporting women who hit this crossroads so that they could have this experience, this immersive, culturally rich experience, connect with other women globally, and just, again, get away and take the time and really look forward and figure out.
So that first retreat was scraping the surface.
Yeah.
But it gave you the building blocks to know what worked, what didn't work, right? To build on it for the new retreat. What were some of the wins out of that last retreat? Did some women come back and have major shifts, lessons learned out of that retreat that you can know that you made an impact in their lives in that respect?
Well, I can tell you that one of them is coming on this next retreat. She said it was so amazing what you provided and all of the insights and the support and the feedback. She said, I'm not missing your next retreat. I'm there.
That's wonderful. That's
And
wonderful.
we did a great, I selected this villa in Puerto Vallarta that was, all of the women who came said it was the nicest place they had ever stayed in their lives. So there was that. And we have that in Barcelona. I have a 10-bedroom villa on the Mediterranean, like
Ooh.
just a block from the beach. I mean, it is, we have our own wine cellar where we're going to have a wine tasting and tapas. And because the space is really important.
Yeah.
And when I select my space, it's not, I mean, that the bedrooms are nice is a good thing, but it's all about the common area where we're going to be together, because the design, right? I mean, think about it. I keep telling everybody, chances are you're going to meet your new BFF at the retreat, because these are women that are at the same place in their life that you are, going through the same things, looking at the same future.
Yeah, it's about community sometimes.
About community and doing it together and getting that support and getting that feedback. Because when you're, staying, you're with a group of women, not just for a little meeting, but 24/7, you're eating together, you're drinking together, you're traveling together, you have that time on the train, you have a time to go sit by the pool and have a glass of wine, have a conversation, whatever it might be. That feedback really helps you, because a lot of times in that community, because a lot of times we don't see our own greatness.
We don't.
And we need other people to see our greatness in us and be a mirror for us. Right? And so that's the design of this one. Really, it's called Path and Purpose Retreat, your adventure of a lifetime in Barcelona coming up. And I'll be doing more. My big dream. I haven't even shared my big dream.
Oh, I want to know. Can you
So
share?
I would like to find and actually run a retreat center in Barcelona. Exactly what I'm talking about, probably 10 bedrooms. I want to create that and then go out into the world to the other thought leaders and coaches and people who have people that they're training and say, come and have your retreat in this really magical place. I've lived here, I've worked here, and this is a place that transformation can happen.
Yeah, that sounds phenomenal. And a place that I think all women should be able to partake and have an experience with.
Yeah.
That community, because a lot of times, like you said, we don't see it ourselves. And it's having the right support team, or just sometimes speaking what we want to do and hearing the feedback gives us that little bit of excitement and confidence that maybe it is possible. Maybe I can do this, because now you've heard other women have the same experiences or lessons they've learned from doing it, or the encouragement of that's really needed. And your, what's the word? Your gifts are there to share with the world. And it's time for some women to just open up and take that step. Right. But yeah, it's getting clear with that path first. And then the community, I think, is what really helps fuel it sometimes.
It's critical. And you know why? Because a lot of us are in our head all day long, right?
Yep.
there's a lot of not good stuff that happens when we're in our heads all day long.
Yep.
And so when you're with other women that you've developed a level of trust with, you're safe to be vulnerable, because it's only when you're vulnerable that you're really going to get to the heart of what you want to create for your life. It's not going to come thinking about it in your head. It's
Correct.
got to come from your heart.
And there's so many times we find women are usually against you, right? You don't find in general a whole lot of women supporters. Now, I think more and more we are supporting each other more and more today than ever before. But there's a lot of times where you feel like you're being looked at as, who does she think she is? Or what is she doing? Or in your head, you're hearing, who's going to listen to me? And when you put yourself in the group where the women are genuine and really are there to support each other, and you're at that same crossroads in your life, like you mentioned, and on the same path of wanting to grow, it all lines up.
You know, I ask this question a lot. It's my magic wand question.
Yeah.
As I ask women all the time, I say, if you had a magic wand and time and money were of no consequence, you had all the time and money in the world, what would you do with your life? Now, some women say, oh, well, I always wanted to be a concert pianist, so I would go become a concert pianist and perform at Carnegie Hall.
Wow.
Some women say, oh, I would go be a missionary in Africa. It's what I've always wanted to do, build orphanages, build wells for the towns, really, really make a difference in people's lives. One woman said, I want to compete in the Olympics. So I need to go train. I need time to train. It's a good thing I have all the time and the money in the world. It takes a lot of time to train to be in the Olympics, right?
Right.
But I would say 80% of women. Oh, there was one woman I was talking to. This will make you laugh. I was at a party and I asked this woman this question. And she said, oh, I'd probably just stay at my job and, spend time with my family. Well, she had spent the 20 minutes prior just complaining about her boss, complaining about her job, complaining about her kids, complaining about her family. So she has all the time and money in the world, and that's what she's going to do, the thing that makes her miserable? Yeah. I'm like, really? I moved on in the conversation. But most women say, a lot of women say, I would travel.
Yeah.
And I'd say, oh, me too. Where would you go? Because if you ask me, where would you go? I would say, what would you do? Travel? I would say, oh, I want to do an archaeological dig in Ephesus. I would like to do a bike trip in Provence and go to all the places where Monet painted. I want to go hike in Patagonia. I want to, so my travel is very specific.
Yeah.
Right? With experiences. But people, I say, oh, where would you travel? Oh, I don't know, someplace warm.
They're not specific.
You know why?
Why?
Because they don't have a destination in their mind that they're trying to get to. All they're thinking about is escaping from.
Ooh.
So I've given them a magic wand. They have all the time and money in the world. They don't have a clear vision for their future. They don't know where they're going. They just don't know where they don't want to be. And if they travel somewhere warm where they can put their toes in the sand, they've escaped from.
But they've got to return back to that other place. So it's not like they've solved the problem.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I love that. I've never thought of it from that perspective. And so you're helping those women not only move in one direction, but get that clear vision So that way when they're headed in that direction, they know where they're going, and they've got the tools to get them there.
Science has actually proved that it's healthier to have a clear vision for your future. I actually was just pulling up the studies. I had printed them out and I was going to review them again so that I could tell you where the studies came from. But I read it and it made perfect sense to me. I'm like, that makes perfect sense. Because then when you get up in the morning, like you said, you're excited, you're moving towards your future. You're not just like, looking around going, why am I even here? Right?
Yeah. Same day on repeat.
Same day on repeat.
That's the way I've always looked at it. Like, I don't want to 5 years from now look back and I've lived the same exact day on repeat for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I want to know that there's a growth in my year. Like every birthday, I call it leveling up. I want to know that there's a growth in my year and steps towards that path and vision that I want for my future of what I want my life to look like.
Well, Sherry, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
If you had a magic wand and time and money were of no consequence, you had all the time and money in the world, what would you do with your life?
I would be doing mother-daughter retreats in destinations. So maybe not necessarily all US based or international, could be different places each time, but specifically for mothers and daughters, because I feel that with today's society, fast pace of everything, a lot of connection gets lost, especially in the late adolescent, early teen years. I have teenagers now. You spent that time in Barcelona with your daughter. And I'm sure you can relate to what those 6 months meant, not just for you, but for her, and the relationship that you have today because of that time. And I don't think, like you said, we slow down enough to have the quietness, the stillness, and the relationships that I think are needed between parent and child. And so I have 2 daughters, and so that's why I've always wanted to focus on mother-daughter. But that would be my magic wand.
I want to come.
You
When
are
is
more than welcome.
when is the next one?
I haven't had one. That is on my goal list. That's one of my visions that I would like to see come to fruition with my girls. Absolutely.
It will.
Oh, it will. It's
I
been
know.
there for a while, and I can feel it, right? And it's the shift in life. I hit midlife, and all of a sudden, I woke up, and I want to make a bigger impact in my day to day. I love my career. I love my sales career in medical diagnostics. But I want bigger, and I want an impact. And who's to say I can't either do both? Or when I'm ready to retire, I have this piece waiting for me. So that's And in the meantime, my Wisdom of Women podcast is what's helping feed that, because it's lessons from women like you who've paved the path, who have made breakthroughs, who can offer assistance and guidance and a way for women to see A, what's possible, and B, how do I get there faster? And I thank you for that. So, Dawn, I have a few questions before we close. Are you ready for some questions?
Okay.
Okay. Number 1, how do you motivate yourself?
I have a morning routine that normally I stick to. I've had a few rough months. I'm not going to lie, right? I've had my own process that I've been going through. Normally, when I'm on top of my game, I have a morning routine that I follow with gratitude, with meditation, with journaling. I'll revisit the book called The Magic. I don't know if you've ever done The Magic, 28 Days. I'll do that. That's a great process to go through to really, really kind of help you realize how much we all truly have, what we need to be grateful for, and the power of gratitude, right? That's at the end of the day, that's what the magic comes down to.
Yeah.
I've always been really self-disciplined. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur for, we didn't say a number, over 30 years. That's what we decided to stick to. I think it's 33 actually is the number. Actually 34. My son turns 34 in a couple weeks, and I was in labor with him and producing my first special event. So there you go.
That's a strong woman for you.
Coming up on 34 years. So I've always been really self-disciplined and really motivated by learning and growing and being good at what I do. Right?
Yeah.
And so, and I surround myself with other like-minded people, and I have a coach.
Perfect. So I'll make sure to link that book in the show notes so that if anyone's interested in the magic,
it's a good one.
make sure it's linked in here. What are you most proud of?
My kids.
Perfect.
My kids.
What advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
That's a good one, Sherry. The advice that I would give my 20-year-old self is, it's not advice as much as the knowledge and certainty that you really are in charge of creating your future. Don't let life happen to you. You happen to life.
Great advice. What brings you joy?
Well, I just found out I'm going to be a grandma.
Congratulations.
Oh! Yeah. So
and that goes back to family.
Yeah. My family's awesome. I have an amazing family. Family is everything. 100%. I have 4 great kids, and I am the oldest of 6, and we have family dinners once a month. We're our favorite people to spend time with. We're who we like to hang out with. So that's what we do. Yeah.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So Dawn, how can our listeners get a hold of you, learn more about the retreat? Do you have any spots left open? Because that sounds like a great time and some great development and learning and growth happening at that week in Barcelona. So how can anyone
get fun and adventure and a shopping spree and your own personal photo shoot and yoga on the beach and some downtime so you can do what you want to do, and you get to meet other women from that area and around the world, and you get to do what you need to do with the support in the safety of a group that's all committed to each other. That sisterhood, like that, actually the last retreat, that was everybody was like, oh my God. It was spending that time diving in deep with women. Like the one woman, she's like, I don't really like women. I'm not sure how I'm going to do. Okay, well, let's see if we can change that, because this is your tribe.
You just have to found the right group.
You need a tribe. So
what's the best way to get a hold of you? Do you have a website?
Sure. Best way to get a hold of me. So this retreat is being sponsored by Hey Taxi. You can go to Hey Taxi Academy. Hey, H-E-Y, Taxi, T-A-X-I, Academy, ACADEMY.com. You can just you can shoot me an email, dawn.cermak@gmail.com. You can send it there. I mean, I have plenty of emails, but that's the one I first used, and it's still with me. And if you go to the Hey Taxi website, you can see right there that there's information about the retreat. You just click at the top, learn more about the Path and Purpose retreat. You'll be able to see the entire agenda, which is, I'm so excited.
I took a peek.
So
it Life changing. Life changing. Yeah.
Right. So to be able to, because I've gone to plenty of webinars, again, I've done a lot of personal growth and done a lot of it in hotel ballrooms, and this is this is destination personal growth. This is getting your personal growth done again in a park in the middle of Barcelona, at the flamenco show, on the train, going to whatever next adventure we have. It's bringing in that element. So you still get the travel, you still get all of the enjoyment, and you're getting some work done.
Well, thanks so much, Dawn, for being on the podcast. I'll make sure that all your contact information is in the show notes. And everyone, we will see you next time on Wisdom of Women.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Wisdom of Women. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and gained some valuable insights and inspiration. How to connect with me and our guest today, as well as any links, can be found in the show notes. Please share this episode with your friends. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review, as it helps us reach more women like you who are seeking to learn from successful women leaders. Stay curious, stay hungry, and always push forward. We'll be back next week with another amazing guest. Until then, keep chasing your dreams, and we'll see you next time on Wisdom of Women.